In this video, I'm gonna talk about Super Daryl Deluxe. I wish to open up by saying that whoever thought of this exact very moment displayed here deserves all the fires of the burning hells. Upon not a single square inch of my controller is the word view written anywhere. Not a single key on my keyboard displays this word, and I looked everywhere from ESC to Catarrhal and Pigup. Somebody out there lives in a world of psychopaths on psychedelics, and to this animal I say the following: the sheer, complete, absolute uselessness of this message before my eyes makes me pray for God to have mercy on your soul and for Electronic Arts to offer you a job as a UX designer corralled among your kind so that we can reasonably predict the corruption of your wretched hand. End of parenthesis, and on to the meat and potatoes. Have you ever wanted to be Napoleon Dynamite? If you answered yes to this question, fuck, dude. Your name is Daryl Whitelaw. The biggest problem about you is that you have the social competence of a log cabin. The best thing about you is that you swim in such complete and blissful ignorance of this fact that you did not take refuge in audacity so much as you accidentally stumbled upon it and mistook the refuge for a good spot where you could sit down and eat a sandwich. This alone makes you more desirable than the other Daryl. My praises go to you, brave Daryl Whitelaw, for your inability to notice the intentions of your bullies elevates you above and beyond your peers. The writers of this game tried to make you pathetic. The man who was supposed to voice you spontaneously ceased to exist the moment you came into existence. The artist in charge of animating you was supposed to land the finishing blow, yet could not resist giving you a dancing animation, a blind idiot confidence in your motions, and a body language that shouts how the world inside of your head is more fun than everyone else's. Yes, Daryl, you were born for a tiny slice of bread, but within you burns the inner hunger for the entire loaf. Armed with little more than a handful of lunch money, you go to your first day of school to make new friends, complete tasks that are meant to kill you, and save the world because, of course, this is that kind of game. To give you a taste of what you are about to experience, you are treated to a tutorial level in which you are given a handful of abilities scattered all over your controller, just so that you can learn that you, yourself, can do a better job at putting your build together than the developers ever will. These abilities include, but are not limited to, duckbill arrows, banana boomerangs, whack-a-moles, balls of electric chest hair, channeling the spirits of the Egyptian wizards, becoming Thor himself, throwing syringe shurikens, calling for a meteor shower, you are already dead, and the list goes on. There is everything from the cheap spammy attack to the almighty haymaker, while passing by ranged and strategic approaches to your problems. Also, most of these abilities can be upgraded for extra levels of ass-kickery. That is a word now. To make use of all of these, you have access to a jump button, a run and dash button, and 4 attack buttons upon which you are at liberty to arrange your skills in the manner you see fit. Much like the driver's seat in a car without a memory feature, you will need to fiddle with your choices for several hours before you find something you are comfortable with. All this while you contend with the fact that you are forced to move with your controller's analog stick. You heard me. The D-pad is busy being used to pull up your map, and this precious feature has been deemed so important that Mother Knows Best has forbidden you from taking it out of this place. If you can cope with this long enough to finish the tutorial, you get to begin the story proper with the actual simple level 1 skills that are easier to handle. Once you are done reading all the text presented to you, your adventure starts well and proper, and behind the doors of each drab corridor lies a technicolor orgasm of psychedelic acid trips experiencing psychedelic acid trips. If this made sense to you, then you have surely experienced a psychedelic acid trip before in your life. My props go to the art direction and the hand-drawn sprites and landscapes. Nobody is winning any awards for 16-bit pixel perfection, but this is done to the benefit of a presentation that recalls exaggerated school cartoons where slapstick comedy reigns as a god. Every enemy has its own sprite, and there is only one palette swap in the entire game. Every skill has its own particular animation, and they even come in multiple versions depending on the skill's level. Whoever was drawing Daryl Whitelaw really wanted to draw Daryl Whitelaw. Your progress demands battling and killing, as you have levels to gain and eventual bosses to fight. One way to get these levels is to perform quests that send you all over the place on long trips within the school before you unlock the fast travel feature, killing 10 or 20 or even 30 of this guy, or finding a handful of this item. To throw a spanner in the works, you will sometimes receive a quest that you cannot accomplish until much later in the game, so get ready to have a lot of unfinished business in your log most of the time. The other way to get levels is to simply destroy everything in sight as long as its level is equal to or above yours. Most of the enemies do not attack you unless you have drawn first blood, so you can always run past an area if you are on more important business. That said, you are encouraged to kill everything anyway if you want to sit comfortably once you show up to a boss fight. If you have chosen the right mix of abilities to assign to your attack buttons, fighting becomes a routine of pushing those buttons in the right sequence over and over until you have finished your job and you are ready to go elsewhere. Compared to Overwatch, the cooldown management here is a walk in the park, and you can bumble your way past the common mobs without initiating your brain's boot sequence. Even the boss fights are a button mash contest in all cases, except the first two, which happen to be puzzle bosses purpose-engineered to shoehorn the fact that this is a game about skill management and not just blindly mashing buttons to kill things. Why that lesson flies out the window 2 hours later is a question that Stephen Hawking would have loved to solve if he had still been alive. Maybe someday we will enjoy a sequel where that system is tightened up into one that demands a little more precision and finesse. But this would go against the philosophy of Daryl's wacky floppy mannerisms that beg you to play it fast and loose as much as possible. The whole arrangement is still a clever idea, and there is a lot that can be done with it, as long as it is not towards an online multiplayer game where teams of 6 face off against each other. The more I think about it, the more I think that thinking about it some more leads to overthinking. There is a point where a Saturday morning coffee stops being a Saturday morning coffee and starts being a snobbish and sweaty competition about whoever poured himself the fanciest hipstergasm-inducing beverage made out of Kopi Luwak, because of course it is always made with fucking Kopi Luwak at this level. There is a point where your sports car stops being a sports car and starts being an ass-beating turbo-powered monster that is in the shop for repairs every weekend. There is virtue in gathering parts that have potential and keeping them from attaining that potential so that they do not steal from the whole of the experience. It looks and feels like an unfinished aspect until you take a step back and realize that finishing them would cause more damage than good. Make a coffee that is too fancy and you miss out on watching the sunrise. Make a 1000 HP car and your reliability goes out the window. Eat too much bread from the basket and you are no longer hungry for the main course. Being Daryl Whitelaw and being Napoleon Dynamite is an exercise in balance. You take your aspects only as far as you need to deliver the message, and then you stop. In short, this game is Friends by Neil Cicierega.
Yeah.